So welcome to Locals Mix Soapbox. We are here to talk to other creatives, entrepreneurs, people with big ideas, and find out kind of what makes them tick and what we can learn from each other in helpful ways. And this whole idea came together from the lovely Donna sitting to my right, and so I'm going to give it to her for just a moment to introduce herself.
All right, thank you so much, Katie. I'm so happy that you are our Soapbox host. And if you didn't catch our first meeting, it was an introductory episode where I talk about what Soapbox is and why we're doing this. And we introduced Katy Steinberg, who is our host. So you can always go back on our YouTube channel, Locals Mix, and you can watch all of that. Today, our topic is Mind Your Business. And we're going to be talking about the struggles that creatives face when they're trying to monetize their business and make money out of their passions. So I'm very excited about our guest today. I'm going to hand it back to Katie, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say today and what kind of tips you can give everybody.
Awesome, thanks Donna. So I guess first what we need is, which of you is going to be the best one to give us the 30-second snapshot of what your business is? Okay, you've been nominated.
30 seconds?
I know. It's going to be tough.
My name is Colin Smith, and I'm one of the co-founders of, so we have actually a couple companies here. So we have Miink, which is our cannabis company, and then we also own Driink, both spelled with 2 I's. That's our Kava bar and sort of cannabis lounge, and then we also own Daytona Smoke and Vape, which is kind of a, we'll get to like a little, not your normal smoke shop. And so, yeah, we're the co-founders of that. Basically, our whole mission, essentially, is to provide safe, natural, effective, and trusted alternatives to pharmaceuticals and alcohol. That's kind of our thing. And showing people that, you know, there are ways to go about dealing with your, you know, daily things we struggle with, whether it's emotionally, physical pain, whatnot, and showing people that, you know, there's a lot of options out there that are extremely effective, and it doesn't have to always just be take a pill.
Thank you. I know there's a big need for that, and I know probably most people watching, and certainly most people sitting up here, are aware of the crises around addiction and those kinds of things. So thank you already for the business that you've started that can help offer an alternative to folks. So I want to hear from all of you. So I'm going to start down here and just have you kind of introduce yourself so you can kind of say who you are. But then I also want you to just start off question. We're just going to dive in straight to the deep end. And what's been the biggest challenge for you as you've attempted to start this business and offer these alternatives?
So my name is Sam, and I'm one of the co-founders with Colin and April. And to your question, I think the biggest challenge was really finding where's our place in this industry and like how to actually move forward, because we did try so many different things, whether it was wholesaling or first we're an affiliate store, and it was kind of like shifting until finding like these little grooves where we're like, hey, these are the routes we're going to take to kind of move forward and scale with, and we're kind of just in the beginning phases of that.
Hi, my name is April Pettersen. I am co-founders with these amazing men right here. And some of the struggles, I mean, we've had a lot. One of the things I would say is we just had to keep going no matter what was thrown at us. Our first store got destroyed by Ian and Nicole, not once but twice, and then a week after the first hurricane, we got the lease for Daytona Smoke and Vape. So then as Nicole came, they were both destroyed and underwater. So our main focus at that time was we had to keep the Miink brand going because there were so many customers that relied on our products. I mean, we were doing deliveries. We were having people like get out our car, and then I'm popping my trunk open with a square reader trying to sell them out of the back seat of our car. He's meeting people at McDonald's. We're going to people's houses, like doing whatever we could because a lot of the people, they depend on the products, and it's like, that's somebody's arthritis medication, that's somebody's migraine medication, that's somebody's neuropathy. Like, we could go on with all the amounts of things that we help people with, and that was like, we just had to keep going. And that is what got us introduced to opening up the Kava bar during that time, and we kind of shifted, and yeah.
So I'd love for you to speak to some of, I know that you just got to keep going probably resonates with other entrepreneurs and creatives, because there's a piece of it, there's just got to be an oomph. But I'd love to hear you describe sort of that motivation. And maybe it's connected to how you got into this business, or maybe it's, I know you spoke about the people that you're helping, and that's obviously a big motivation. But I don't know, I'd love to hear you wrap some words around what is that sort of intangible thing that comes between the person who just keeps going and the person who says, it's too hard.
There's a lot of them, actually. So we're pretty lucky. We have a lot of, like, whys. They hear people talk about what's the purpose or what's their why. I can speak for myself. I have quite a few of them. The main driver through pushing through all of it was really, it started off like, we wanted a side hustle. We just wanted to do something, and it was to really, it started off as just wanting to get out of the 9 to 5 that, you're like Joe Rogan talk about, like that quiet life of desperation where you're just kind of just caught in the rat race and just doing something that you don't like and just doing the typical thing, the work a job, 401k, blah, 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 go on vacation, feel like a human once a year, and that's your life, and then you retire, and hopefully you have enough to, get by until you die. And that was something that I knew at a very young age that wasn't the life for me. In the process of doing what we do and seeing, to what April was saying, the changes and the way we've been able to impact people's lives, like on a major scale, people that have met us that, we're on 16 different medications with all these horrible side effects for whether it was their anxiety, fibromyalgia, all these different illnesses, and tried everything. And almost were apathetic at that point, like nothing's gonna work. And then ended up somehow finding us, and now they're off all those medicines. And now, they're actually like thriving in life. And, when we were going through, the adversity with the businesses destroyed, and, we're like, what are we doing? We all left like 6-figure incomes that we were all doing okay on our own. And we're like, could have got off the ride any time and just kind of went back with that. But we had like a driver of these people need it, because what we do is not done anywhere else. I couldn't just say, just go to this person. It's very unique what we do. And we felt almost like morally obligated to keep it going, because these customers aren't just customers. They really become like family. It sounds cliche, but it's real. Another driver, not wanting to go back to where we were, feeling like we failed, and proving everybody that doubted us and talked all that shit, proving them right. And, I know me and Sam, we used to sit in my office when we both were working a job that we didn't love, and plotting all this and talking about it, and everyone had some slick things to say all the time, and we just like Teflon, don't even listen to it, and we just stay focused and grind. And now, 5.5 years later, we're finally at a point where it's like we're living what we talked about 6 years ago, and we imagine, and we put in the work. When they tell you that you work a long time as a true operator and entrepreneur, anyone out there that's thinking about doing this, be prepared to work your ass off for a godly amount of time and not make anything for a long time and be okay with it and don't lose enthusiasm and you get kicked in the nuts and keep going with a smile on your face and keep chugging. And eventually, if you just don't quit, and you, especially with us, our whole thing is doing it also with integrity and with character, and doing the right thing when we know nobody's looking, and not taking the easy way, but taking the right path, eventually it starts clicking, and eventually it pays off. You know, and we're just getting started in our minds, so we have a little bit of imposter syndrome in a way, because on the out, you know, we are doing very well by most metrics, but knowing where we are gonna go with this, and just in life, we're just getting started.
I'm so glad you brought up imposter syndrome, because I know that that's something that's very common amongst entrepreneurs, people who want to start things, people who want to do things differently. It's very common, because if you're actually pioneering, you're kind of out on the front edge. There's nobody else doing it. You can't look to your left, look to your right and say, how do we do this? You have to kind of make it up as you go. And to overcome part of that imposter syndrome that starts out, I wonder if you can speak to that, overcoming that imposter syndrome and that space between, I sort of think of it as somebody should versus I feel called to, you know, because does the community need, you know, somebody to feed hungry people? Yeah, community needs that. Somebody should do that. Well, that's a very different thing than I feel called to do that work. So I wonder if you could speak a little bit to that, where imposter syndrome and that calling piece kind of fit together, if you could. I'm gonna start down here now.
Okay. Think of your question for a second. Where imposter syndrome and your calling. Okay. Well, first, I think like imposter syndrome comes in because you don't know anything about what you're doing. You know, you have no experience. You're not good at it. You're making mistakes all the time. And I think you kind of build your confidence when you're like, hold on, you know, we're getting better at this. We're figuring out solutions. We're not having the same problems over and over again. And one thing that Colin said, like where the calling part comes in, because I was like, they know I'm not one to be like a self-promoter. Like I'll pretend I'm the janitor in the place. And when I started, like, you know, when I was leaving the car business and I was coming in and working in the store, and you'd see somebody come in and like cry and be like, you don't understand how this changed my life. And you're like, wow, this feels so rewarding that like we're really impacting these people's day-to-day lives. That's where like it became a calling for us, because like Colin said, it was like, how do we get out of the car business? How do we have a life that we don't feel like we need a vacation from, or we don't feel like our upset stomach going to work in the morning, or like hating what you're doing? And it was like really once we started to see the people we were impacting, then it really became the calling. And the imposter syndrome 100% is like, that's why you go in business with your friends. You're not good enough at business to go do business with other business people. So you're like, who will work late for no money every single night and sit at IHOP till 3 a.m. and like talk about dreams with, because it's also like hard to talk about your dreams with like people who don't have big dreams. And like these two would sit there every night. We'd go work our jobs, then we'd go work in some business that we put money into that we weren't making money with, and we did this every day, 7 days a week, no matter what. And then we never ever talk about like closing doors or giving up. That's never been a conversation once, no matter what happened. We had many justifiable reasons to close our business, and we never quit. So I think you get over the imposter syndrome more and more as time goes on, you have more experience, so.
And you kind of mentioned the things you don't know, so I want to double click on that, because how do you approach the things you didn't know? Like, where are the helpers? Like, how did you overcome or circumvent or find your way through and around and over? How'd you get through that?
I feel like the universe does it for you. Like, whenever you're looking for something, if you're looking for it, you will find it. You know, no matter what the situation was, it was either that person would just pop in and walk through the door and we're like, holy shit, I totally need to talk to you. Or it's that person who knows that person, and the different connections that you make, and within the community, there's just always an answer or somebody to ask, somebody who has the answer. Everything is figure outable is correct, you know, no matter what is thrown at you. It's like, okay, we're gonna figure this out.
To add to that,
Yeah, please.
one thing that we also realized is that when you're building businesses, like when you're an entrepreneur, they say you jump out of the plane and then build a chute on the way down, which is like really the way we roll, you know. We just feel like, yeah, very much not, well, what if it doesn't work? We're like, what if it does? You know, and, you know, we've learned to make peace, I think you guys would agree, with everything we're doing now is like laughable to our better self down the road. All we can do is take the info that we have and make the best decision for what we think is the right thing. And we're wrong a lot, but we just keep going, and then you pivot and you learn and you seek advice from people further along, which just, for the most part, the entrepreneurial world is amazing for that. Everybody's kind of like, it's like the mega yacht with the next yacht behind it, and everyone's kind of talking, you know, and everyone's always willing to give advice and, you know, what helped and what to avoid, and, you know, because the three of us, we have no idea. We just were figuring it out. But we made peace with, like, we sit there, it's almost kind of morbid in a way that we like, it's like funny how like the best memories were like the shittiest things. You know, and we sit there and we're like, dude, remember when, oh my God, and then all of a sudden that thing happened and we were able to like keep it going, you know, and it looked like we were up backwards against the wall and there was no way out, and then somehow it just happens. And if you just, you know, keep chugging along and just like, quitting's not an option, and just making peace with the fact that you're gonna be wrong a lot, you're gonna fail a lot, and it's just that failure after failure after failure with little glimpses and sparkles of like good stuff, and you just start compounding that over time, and less mistakes, more and more good stuff, and then there's this kind of shift. But we know that everything we think like, oh yeah, we're really kind of getting our stride here, is actually like, we're gonna look back on things we're doing today and next year and go, what the hell were we thinking? But we don't know what we don't know, so we just do what we can with what we know and keep it moving.
And April, you totally stepped into my like realm of like the universe provides, you know, like.
I'm very
I love
like
that.
spiritual. I believe like in so many different things. Like when certain situations happen, I'm like, oh
Yeah, me and Mike, you.
When certain situations happen, I'm like, either A, I know it already, or
I knew this was gonna happen.
or I have to switch my mindset into, there are times where I'm like, oh, I don't know if we could do this, or what if this happens? And then once you switch your mindset and you're like, no, this is gonna happen. I could even like remember stories about a situation, and we're like, oh, what do you know? The universe took the trash out for us. If it was like with an individual that we just didn't want their energy around us anymore, there were a lot of times all of a sudden they'd be like, oh, hey, blah, 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 oh, bye. And I'm like, we didn't have to do it, but we were feeling like, okay, we don't need these people or this energy around us. It's not good for our growth. It's not good for the baby, which we call the business our baby. We gotta take good care of it, so.
I love that, and I would love to hear you, because I think that that's another thread that I've picked up with entrepreneurial people. Like, there's got to be a certain amount of like the intangible sort of, as you've described, spiritual universe provides. Like, I'm just gonna take the next step. Balance though with some practicality, right? Because you know, if another taco place opened up right next door to Tia's, it probably, or it's still Tia's, right? Tia's. It probably would fail, right? Like there's already Tia's and it's really good. So why would anybody go right next door for another taco? You know, so how do you think about balancing sort of that, I think of it as calling, or that spiritual piece of like, I'm gonna keep going because I feel like sort of undeniably led in this direction and the universe continues to provide the next right step. And like, I think we should have a spreadsheet maybe with like some, how do you, and maybe there's different ones of you that could answer different parts of that. So let's start down here.
balancing the spiritual and the practical.
Okay. So yeah, April's definitely our spiritual mama. And she'll be like, I feel like this is happening for us. It's adorable. Me and Colin are definitely more of the, let's do this. And then we're like, hey, April, oh yeah, we're opening a Kava bar. And like, that's how things come about. And we're like ready to take the risk. I think we've gotten better at like, you know, mitigating the risk a little bit, where we did things that, looking back now, I'm like, that was stupid. We should have never done this, because we do keep better track of things now. You obviously, again, you keep learning. There was something that I was thinking of when April was talking. I'm trying to remember what the heck it was. But,
Before you're not too here.
if it comes back to me, I'll say it. But yeah, I'm gonna pass this off real quick. I kind of lost my train of thought. But I'll pass this off to somebody.
Yeah. Oh, and that's already helpful, right? Is that, you know, there's got to be that unnameable something that makes you take the leap, but then you learn along the way and fill it in with the practical too. You had mentioned about being back up against the wall kind of feeling. What's your first move? What's your first move when you realize back's against the wall?
I think we just go for it. It's become our conditioned response. It's just, what's the answer? And just, how do we fix it? And what do we have to do? And then we just execute. It's one of those things, like, almost like in fighting, like, what are you doing, someone punching in the face? Fight back, you know, like, we don't have a choice. You know, we're so pot committed now, and we owe it. You know, we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our families, we owe it to people that may be watching that are inspired that we don't even know. You know, he's got a son, she has a daughter. You know, my mom's another one of those wives, you know, single mom raising me and my brothers on her own. Like, she's gonna have the best golden years while there's air in my lungs. And I'm willing to do whatever the hell that takes to make that happen. So when you could kind of take it, you can dig a little deeper when it's beyond you. You know, where it's like, we're all like pretty easily, like we don't need a lot, you know, like we're not doing this so we can have Lambos and Ferrari, all that stuff's cool. But it's like knowing his son is set up, knowing her daughter's all set, knowing my mom and my family's all set. That's really where you're able to like just dig that much harder. And plus we've been through a lot. So, you know, like we've all endured just in regular life, a lot of shit. You know, whether it's like growing up without father, you know, abusiveness, you know, I'm a recovering drug addict, so is April. He's had addiction in his family that he's had a front row seat to watch. And so we're like, you start to build this confidence, like, well, I'm 42 years old, and literally every single thing that's been thrown at me to break me down and stop me, and I'm batting 1,000, I'm still here, and I'm still, like, with fire in my belly, like, going. So you start to build this confidence of like, it's not as bad as that, you know, and like when you can beat a heroin addiction, it's like, most things aren't that difficult. So when you do those things, you're like, or having your businesses completely under a foot of water and not one but two, and that, you know, just all the stuff we went through, and then you survive, you just have this like ultimate faith in it's gonna work out. And you just, so when you have that kind of confidence, it allows you, it's very freeing, because then when shit happens, you're just like, oh, this is just another thing where it's just like raising your, like our thermostat of what is tolerable. Things that we deal with every single day now would have been devastating 5 years ago. And now they're like, it's just Wednesday, you know? And so it's actually, you almost welcome the bad stuff in a way. It's those things like, you don't want to go through it again, but you're glad you did when you come out the other side, and you can now use that as another, you know, kind of tool in your belt.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I like the saying, and I'm not sure if I made it up, I think I did, but probably didn't, that there is no lose, right? It's either there's the gifts that you talked about, the right person walking through the door, and there's the challenges that make you learn and make you better. So there's really no lose. Do you have a question? I could feel you on my shoulder for these folks. No, you're just excited. Okay. So I have a super scary question. And that's really hard to answer, especially from the space of there is no lose. And that's, what would it take for you to stop doing it? Like, would there be a scenario in which you'd say, let's put this baby to bed, it's done, it's enough? You can't
pivot. We do something else. We started off.
say that again. That's important.
Okay.
We would just pivot. We're gonna just keep doing stuff. We are now at the point where, like, we all know what we share the vision, and we could see it, and we could taste it and smell it, and have talked about it for so much. We didn't know what Kava was 2 years ago, and now we have like one of the best spots around. We didn't know what CBD was 5-6 years ago, and now we have a 5-star rated company on every platform that we ship all over the country and help thousands of people. So yeah, we're gonna win. It's like you might change the course of how you're gonna get there. Like you just don't, who knows? The thing that we end up being, we hit it really big with, is something we today sitting here have no idea. With somebody we haven't even met yet. That's one of our best people in our lives. You just don't know. So it's like really cool to see, like, I don't know what would make us, while we're breathing, I don't see us stopping ever. It might exit this company and start this one. We might end up, more with real estate, or it might, who knows, there's some other cool plant that we don't mess with, which I don't know if there are, but I'm sure there are. We have so many, we're very tapped into that. And, so I just think there is no lose, and there is no, at this point, we already won, because we got out of the grind we wanted to get out of. Our families are happy and healthy. We're still all here, and like our friendships and all that have been like tested beyond belief. And to still be sitting here right now with like such love for each other and the same like enthusiasm and passion. I don't know. Shit. Yeah, the nuclear bomb, maybe.
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
So for somebody who's just starting out, let's say, you 5 years ago or 6 years ago or whatever that was, and is going, I think I wanna start a thing. They probably have a little more clarity than a thing. Not much clarity. So what would you do first? What's the first thing you do?
Find a mentor.
Good word.
We did not have mentors early on, and I think it really hurt our ability to like get further faster, because there's so much learning curve that somebody can cut down for you that's already done a lot of this stuff. And then I always think like too, when I hear people, because we get it all day, everybody's like, hey, I want to start a business, I'm thinking about doing this thing, and you hear this like kind of off the wall idea, and I think go take something that already works, don't go reinvent the wheel, do something that already works and just do it a little bit better in every category, and try to just be better at the next person in doing that, and just start small, and don't expand until you're like bursting at the seams. That's one thing we did. We kind of like overexpanded at one point, and it hurt tremendously. But yeah, reach out to people that are doing what you want to do, and every entrepreneur loves giving advice, because they love being like, oh man, I went through this, and everybody likes telling their story. So find somebody that wants to tell you their story and give you all their advice. And I've helped so many people for free, so many people have helped me for free, and every entrepreneur knows what that person's going through, so they want to help them so bad. We like get off on it. It's like, oh yeah, let me do this for you, let me help you with this, and I could save you a ton of time here. So find a mentor.
Love that. What would you say, April? What was the question? First thing you do, you want to start a business, you want to become an entrepreneur, what do you do first?
One, you need to believe in yourself. I want to say in the beginning, I just didn't have the mindset, and I didn't believe in myself, because I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just winging it and getting everything moved along, and then little by little it just kept building and developing, and the more and more I was like, oh wow, I did this, and I started to see all the things that I was doing. But right in the beginning, I was like, I don't know, and then the more you spoke it into existence, it started happening.
I love that. What would you say?
You're just starting out?
Yeah.
Probably would read go listen to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and some stuff, books along that. I mean, on a like, obviously you want to do. I would test the market for, make sure that there is a market for what you're trying to get into, and just again, like Sam said, don't get so having confidence in your abilities is cool, but don't get so like pot committed and go and rent a space and do all these things. Like maybe start at a farmer's market if you're selling something, and get some like social proof that it's gonna potentially work. And then very much get a mentor. It would probably be there's a lot of people out there that just they're just free game, and you could take their 30 years of business and you can get like the distillate of that, and it's invaluable. So that would be, if you're just first starting out, and be prepared mentally, like I said, to just grind it out and work, and you're not gonna see results right away. You have to just really go into it knowing that it might not work out, but something else, again, we're very big on, we say it all day, every day, is, again, these like corny things, but they're sayings for a reason. It's like, we truly feel that things happen for us and not to us. The coolest, best things, the reason we're sitting here today is because of terrible things that we've been through. Like, the reason we own a cannabis company is because of our previous addiction when she crashed her motorcycle. She broke her leg in half, broke her shoulder. We were looking for alternatives because we didn't want to go down that horrible path we had been on before, which led us seeking out alternatives, which then got us into this space. So we wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for opiate addiction and motorcycle crashes. And that, but we were able to take that, and when you're in it, you're like, this sucks. But you just keep chugging along, and then you end up looking back. The reason we own a Kava bar is because our businesses got destroyed by hurricanes. And now we love it. So every time we're in it, we now are like, have learned to change the framework of how we look at things to being, this isn't happening to us, this is happening for us. Because now we have proof. So again, long-winded, if you're starting out, just be prepared to just work really hard. People are gonna talk shit. People that don't have the guts to go do it themselves are gonna naysay it, and you're gonna hit your parents and this and that. Do what feels right. Do it with integrity. Do it with character. Just be prepared to work real hard and grind it out. Work 2 jobs if you have to. One of my favorite things to do is someone tells me they don't have time, and just take a calculator and start with 168, which is how many hours there are in a week, and ask them, well, how much did you work at your normal job? Minus that. How much do you sleep? Okay, minus that. Oh, you have kids, and how much time do you spend with them? Everybody has time. There's still 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day that you could be working towards this thing. And then eventually you just build it to where you can pivot out of it and then do that full time. So
I just want to add.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I think that people also underestimate the amount of time that you put into planning. I always feel like planning is the hard part, executing is the easy part. Once you really have a very defined goal and a very defined plan, now you just wake up in the morning and you are like literally just going through like step by step whatever you planned out, and do not underestimate how much time you have to put into planning. That's my last thing.
Thank you. Yeah, I watched the Venus and Serena Williams documentary, and their dad, who's, in fact, the documentary is named after him, but he had a plan. He had a plan for their lives. He's like, yeah, I'm raising the best tennis players in the room. This is how we're gonna do it. This is we're gonna wake up every day and do it. So I appreciate the plan. Although it did mess up my little memory piece, because it was mentor, and then it was mindset, and then it was the media and the marketing. And so now we got planning, and it doesn't start with an M, so I'm a little disappointed. But it's still very, very useful. But I appreciate it. No, we got a plan. We got a plan. Making a plan. Oh yes, now we can have another M. So we're making a plan. We're getting a mentor. We're getting the right mentality and mindset. We're gonna do the marketing, check the market out, and make all those pieces come together. So I love that so much. I wanted to just check in. We've got a couple folks here. Did either of you have a question or something you were hoping to glean from a conversation around how do we start a business? How do we mind our business? How do we be entrepreneurs? What would be helpful for budding entrepreneurs to know? And if not, that's okay, because we can keep going.
Yeah, I probably do.
Well, you can think on it. Just wave at me. I'll keep an eye out for you if you wave at me. Did you have something, Carlos?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. When it comes to scaling up,
Actually, Carlos is
Carlos is gonna come. Carlos is gonna come share
I'm actually
also.
gonna give up my seat for you.
You're being tagged in.
Yeah, I want
Is
you
this
to,
like WrestleMania?
I'm happy
Yes.
you're here. I
So
want you to introduce yourself
Sure.
because this is an expert in this topic right here too. Yeah.
are we live? Am I chiming in? Okay, so my name is Carlos Soldevilla. I am a former restaurateur here in the Daytona Beach area. I own 4 different restaurants and sold the last one March 1st of last year. And now with that, I took a year off and became a certified score mentor. I'm a volunteer at 1 Million Cups, I'm one of the organizers, and I gave retirement my best shot. 1 solid year. It was enough for me to figure out I'm 100 miles an hour, I can't sit still. So now started Songbirds Music Company with 2 other partners, and that's what I'm doing. So my question to you is, how did you find, when was a good time to scale up? You talked about some of the difficulty you had when you scaled a little too quickly, too soon, and you paid the price. I think that's what you said. How did you find, hey, now's the time to move forward and expand?
I don't know if there's an exact recipe to it. We're very much like gut instinct kind of people. It got to the point where like this last location, it was one we had kept our eye on actually, and it kept kind of resurfacing in our life as an opportunity, and then didn't work out for whatever reason, and then it happened to pop up again, and we said, well, if we can make this, you just kind of run the numbers, and you just, you're like, okay, well, if this store's doing this and this one's doing this, then, if we do at least that, and we know what to start, we map out the build outs, this is brick and mortar, so what would it take to get the keys? What would it take? How much inventory do we need? How much, blah, 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 and then kind of reverse engineer it. And then also a little bit of like, what's the worst that could happen? And you kind of, because we were already having some success with the others, so it was almost like, it kind of was a natural thing, it felt like a very natural progression, at least from my point of view. Yeah.
So you were asking about, like, when did you realize it was the right time to start scaling? So I genuinely feel like we're really in like the very infancy of that, because like I said earlier, it was like really finding like more like what's our path that we can really scale with, because we tried wholesaling our products, which I don't recommend anybody doing a brand if you don't have to. It's very costly and very tough. And then we were a CBD store, then we rebranded. So we did all these different transitions of like pivoting of like, hey, the market's changing, because CBD stores 5 years ago were a bigger thing than they are today. There's few dedicated CBD stores. So it was like really more finding like, what is the track we can get on that we can move forward on? Because all these other things we were hitting like roadblocks, we're like, oh, we can't do that. Okay, or we don't have the knowledge or the team or the money to go do that and really grow. But now I feel like with the Kava bar and the smoke shops, where it's like, hey, these are 2 things that we know how to do and we do them well. Now we can like really focus on branding these and like making our own identity with these and scale these. And now we're just in that process of like making better processes, really kind of making everything, scalable really, and having systems and stuff like that. So we're still very, very in the beginning of everything.
And Carlos, I'd love if you'd share, do you have experience with scaling and how that can go right and wrong? So
Sure.
share your experience and maybe something you picked up here.
Okay, yeah, yes, happy to. So I found with scaling is making things easier for mine as a restaurant background. So it was, hey, listen, I'll do the heavy lifting in the morning, and I'll make all my soups, all my sauces, the ingredients, the blends of what I needed. And I didn't have to reach out and, oh, you're a chef. I don't need a chef. I need a cook. At best, a lead cook. All you gotta do is count. You're just heating up and plating. You're melting cheese, what are you cooking? You're cooking a burger, a pancake, maybe a crab cake. Aside from that, you're just heating up sauce and plating. I want you to plate like this. I want it, the sandwich cut this way, I want it with height. So that's what I found, and to make it, I tried to mimic McDonald's where they have teenage, look at the role model. I mean, it's the most popular restaurant, not in the world. I mean, not in the United States, but the entire world. Why? And there's teenagers running the place. Because you hit the button on the right, it's a large. Button on the right, or the left, it's a small. They made it so easy that anyone could do it. And I found that was the opportunity for me to pull back a little bit. Oh, I can take the night off. I can still have the cameras, I can still watch, and I use that to catch people doing something right. Hey, listen, I think, she knocked her drink over, but you were over there right away, you cleaned it up, you didn't let her pick up the broken glass from the wine glass or whatever, and that was great. Thank you for doing that. And it was catching to something right, but at the same time they felt, oh, he's not left his pulse off the building, he still has his finger on everything. And that was something that really aided me in, moving from one location to another. I scaled up from one building that was 1,400 square feet to a location that was over 5,000 square feet, so it was 3 times the size of the building, which I won't do again. This is me going back to McDonald's. Yeah. Hey, look, it's a small restaurant, it's less than 40 seats. There are a million of them out there. And so I took that information and said, you know what? No, I don't want a bigger building. If anything, I'll duplicate what's successfully working for me. Take this and do in another city, so far away, within 20, whatever that looks like. And I found that to be successful for me. And, when it came to scaling up, man, a bigger check at the end of the month, I just didn't need it. I know what I'm doing well. Let me stay in my lane. How do I pivot? How do I change it? COVID, that was a big learning experience for me. Because all of a sudden, dining rooms are closed, the kibosh, boom. What do we do now? And we figured out to do family value meals, which were $15 to $28 to feed 4 to 6 people. And that was really convenient for those people that still were commuting and, hey, listen, at least I got dinner. I sold off the entire bar. I would be like, hey, listen, my beers are all $6 a 6-pack, or all my wines are only $10 each. And man, if you're into Jack Daniels, I'll let the rest of that go for $15. All of a sudden I sold off the whole bar. I called my wine rep and said, listen, I need another case of this, another case of that. He said, all I do is sell to restaurants and bars, which are closed. Why is it that you're the only account in all of our restaurant locations, got the reps that sell to them? Why are you the only one ordering? What are you doing? I told them exactly what I did. And I would have customers walk in and say, you're selling off your whole bar? Now at that point, no one knows how long this is gonna last. That's money sitting on the shelf. I'd rather have it in the account than sitting on the shelf. So, when it comes to, and I agree with you, when scaling up, when coming up with new ideas and see how do you pivot, it's, when it comes to business, there's no such thing as a bad idea. It's about timing. It's about, hey, listen, we can do this immediately in another couple weeks by the end of the month. In 6 months, once we grow another $10,000, $20,000 a month, we can implement these things. And, well, if we ever go into quarantine again, I'm doing this. Because those things are pertinent. You have them in your back pocket. Like you said, you've had to transform. You never know what's coming up next. And just because you're doing good in the world, you got this thing you're working on, life comes and knocks the legs right out from under you. And don't get me wrong, it hurts, it stings. Once you learn the lesson, the pain goes away.
Well, thank you so much, Carlos. I have a feeling you'll be coming back.
And I would love to hear before he goes too, what's a piece of advice that you would give to a creative right now?
Give to a creative now.
When they're starting off.
Starting up your first post, I'm going to chime off. What each one of you said. Planning. If you don't plan it, I being a SCORE mentor, I hand people or email them one sheet of paper. It is 30 questions. It's a 30-question business plan. It is 30 different ways of looking at your business. Now, if they can't, because so many people, and you said it before, people will come in with this off-the-wall idea, whatever, and I've been presented with plenty of them. They haven't even scratched it down on a napkin yet. And it's, you got to figure out how to formulate it. And they go through the 30, hey, look, I filled out my 30 questions, my business plan, I'm ready to go. Okay, listen, that's great. You figured out the numbers, reverse engineering. You said also that, hey, listen, what is the minimum it takes for you to live at your current lifestyle where you're at, or what is the bare minimum? I've done this to my son. Listen, we can go to Disney or we can have the Disney Channel. We can't do both this year. What's it gonna be? And we've had this conversation. So when you reverse engineer and you figure out what is my bare minimum, in the worst case scenario, it's very big to figure out. What if the worst happens? Can I survive? Now you can take an educated, do I pull the trigger? Is it time to go? And once somebody writes up their business plan and they're hyped, they're very pumped up, ready to go. Okay, hang on a second. Just because you get the place, you turn on the lights, you hang your open sign up and unlock the doors, does not mean the floodgates open and business comes running in.
That is
No. 1 to 3 years. I'm talking, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, if you're serving food or a service and such, it doesn't matter. 1 to 3 years before that business can start writing you a check, there is the anomaly, 1 in 10,000, that within 6 weeks, 6 months, you can start writing a check. But and that's a cold shot of reality. Just because you hate your boss, the people you work with, is no reason to start your business. You really have to have a passion, a fire in your belly. That drive that you talked about, that you have this blind faith. As an entrepreneur, you take that leap of faith, that you've got it in the fire in your belly, that no matter what, if it kills me, this turkey's gonna fly. I am gonna make it happen. Whatever happens, I don't care, I'll take care of it. And something, an entrepreneurial trait is ready, shoot, aim.
Yeah.
Hey, I can handle the meat and potatoes. The peas and carrots, I'll take care of those as they come around. Sometimes they stack up kind of quick. So it's as far as mentoring and telling people about my experiences being out in the industry, that you got to be patient. You got to grind it out those late nights when no one sees you working, and you're just sitting there and pushing, and no one's paying you. And the next day, you made it through another day. You made it through another day. And I as a small business, I know what it's like to have to work with a gun to your head. We live and die by the day. So if someone has a bad experience at my place, not only do they not come back, they tell everybody they know. Now McDonald's, Starbucks, they can screw up your order a dozen times, so you still go back, right? But so I very much, am an advocate of, hey, listen, no, how I need to check on every table. I would bring on service on, it's like, does he check on everyone? Absolutely, every single table. It's important. No, the buck stops here. Well, no, he didn't cook it. That was the cook in the back. No, she didn't take the order. The buck stops here. I take full responsibility. Exactly. And you said everything happens for us. When you take that mindset of everything happens, the buck stops here, it is my responsibility. Then I didn't have enough people answering the phone or enough people in the back to be sure that everything was running as it should. And it's an unstoppable attitude and a mindset that, no matter what happens, I'll pivot. No, this happens for us. How is this happening as far as where's the lesson inside? What does this teach me? And you're absolutely right. The worst things that ever happen to you, the motorcycle accident, getting over addiction, ends up being the best thing that could happen to you. But you don't know till afterwards, until you have the time to reflect upon it and go, whoa. I saw something came across my scroll. This guy's carrying a boulder on his shoulder. If I did not make life hard enough for you, you would not have changed. And for a lot of people, it takes that practice that we look ourselves dead in the mirror, never again. And that this has now become your rock bottom. This will never happen again. And life you push that much further because we grow. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Carlos, where can people find information on SCORE before you go?
SCORE's feel that it just took over. SCORE is a nationwide nonprofit which stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. They are throughout the entire United States. SCORE.org. You put in your zip code, you can find a SCORE chapter near you. Here, ours is chapter 87. It's Flagler, Volusia, and we are looking for volunteers. So if you guys would like to give.
Is there a website?
Yes, score.org.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Carlos. Yes, you're perfect. Thank you.
serendipitous. What was that thing about the universe providing the right? It just happened for us. And I'm pretty sure we're wrapping things up here, but I would love for you all to just to share, how can we find you? How can we follow up, whether that's for your business purposes or whether that's because entrepreneurs love to tell people their stories.
So really, April does a great job. You can follow us on all the social media. That's kind of like our newsletter. So on all platforms, it would be Driink, D-R-I-I-N-K, Kava Bar, Kava with a K. People mess that up a lot. And then also at Miink on Instagram as well. Daytona Smoke and Vape. Those are the three.
Miink Daytona. Our page, unfortunately, got
shut
down.
When you're in the cannabis space.
When you're in the cannabis industry, they try to block everything you do, and we had a very wonderful page.
So, what's the new one?
It is at Miink Daytona.
Say it on the mic.
Miink?
At Miink Daytona.
Yeah.
And I think on Facebook it's Daytona Smoke and Vape still, but you know.
Yeah, so just think Miink, one eye think, two in Miink. We like to say it, means, turned into basically meaning like, our whole thing is like making an impact over income. So that's what the two eyes kind of represent.
Cool.
So when people see the two, now they see our logo, the two eyes, and they're like, oh, it's you guys, and now it's, there's brand association there that it's high quality, good people behind it. So yeah, anytime you see the little two eyes like this, that's us. Come holler at us.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your thoughts, your ideas. As we continue forward with this soapbox idea, we hope you'll come back, because a lot of what we want to do is share ideas, much like Carlos coming up and sharing his thoughts and batting things around. And even as we get into more contentious issues, things people want to fight over. I mean, you mentioned briefly that there are folks who are going to come up against you even in, you're just trying to follow your own dreams, like that's not even, religion or politics or like major social issues. But either way, we'd love to have you come back, both for the conversation and potentially to share more about the things that you've learned and discovered about how to do this thing. And by this thing, I do mean entrepreneurship, but I also mean like so much of what you shared is life lessons. It's not just about being an entrepreneur. It's like let's be decent humans, and let's find some drive. Let's get our mindset right. These lessons are applicable across different types of people and interests and things like that. Would you like to close us out?
Yeah. But before I do, I have to hear from you, Katy, as well. Please share with us, what were some of your biggest struggles in pursuing your passions? And what is the number one advice that you would give to a creative watching right now?
What an opportunity. So I haven't shared this with you all yet, but I have experienced founding a spiritual community, which is part of what I've done, and then transforming a very traditional faith community. And you can find out more about that at katysteinberg.com or katycuthillsteinberg.com or katycuthill.com or on social media, but either way. And I would say that the biggest challenge, some of it you've already spoken to, and Carlos too, is it's the own internal monologue. It's the fear that it's not going to work. It's the day when nobody shows up and you think, have I just totally gotten it wrong? Particularly if you're following passion, if you're following calling, if you're following that fire in your belly, and you're like, okay, I'm putting everything I got into this. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I know this is who I'm supposed to be. And then people don't show up.
Oh, we've had 0 days.
0 days. That's the 0 days, man. That it's like, they're so, it's just it feels so personal. It feels so personal when what you're doing is attached to your identity and your dreams and your hopes and that sense of calling, which is essential to doing entrepreneurship. It's essential that it be tied up in who you are, or else you're not going to put all of yourself into it. But then when it kind of falls flat in any kind of way, it's like a blow to the guts, man. It's a blow to the guts. And I would say that's the hardest part of overcoming, but I'll echo much of what you all said. There's mentors. Find your community, find your people that support you, that love you, that give you the good word, and find it within yourself. Fearlessly believe it, like you all have said. Write about it, talk about it. When I get backed up against the wall, the first thing I'm doing is start making phone calls. I'm gonna call up my friend Colin. I'm gonna say, hey, what do I do, man? This sucks. This is terrible. You're gonna go, yeah, I've been there, and it sucked for me too. We're gonna get up. We're gonna do it better tomorrow. So why don't you go take a nap and have a kava and then figure it out tomorrow? You know what I mean? I'm gonna call my friend Don. I'm gonna call my friend Carlos. I'm gonna call my people, and I'm gonna figure out what to do next. So my number one piece of advice would be find your people and build your community. Find your experts. Surround yourself with them. You do not have to be an expert at everything. I'm not an expert at accounting. I'm not an expert at legal. Like, I'm gonna find people that are experts, and I'm gonna surround myself with kind and brilliant and loving and expert people, and that's how I'm eventually going to make the progress I want to make, because your girl don't do it alone.
Oh, that's expensive.
Yeah, don't drop that. So thanks everybody that came. Thanks to our guests. Thanks Donna for just bringing your own idea to life to create space for a soapbox for people to bat around ideas and share brilliance and get to know each other. And let's do it again. What do you say?
I would love that. And thank you, Katy, for being our amazing host. Thank you guys so much for being here and sharing your experience with everyone. Everyone that came out here tonight, thank you so much. This video is going to be up on our YouTube, so we can keep the conversation going. If anyone watching it has any questions, just drop it in the comments. And stay tuned to the Locals Mix. We have a lot going on. We're going to do some really cool stuff. So stay tuned for that, thelocalsmix.com, anywhere on social media. And we will see you here next time. I'm DJ Jukebox Bully. Thank you guys. See you next time.